stand in today, and we're going to talk about this. 6 months from now is actually quite scary. The economy is uncertain, and customers cannot predict with any certainty what they see. That is a statement that came from a consumer going to the Dallas Fed board. The Dallas Fed has taken a poll, and it is showing that consumers are becoming more and more depressed because they are becoming more and more distressed. And that is going to bring us into this next wave of this economic collapse in 2024. My brother is actually working on the second level of the real estate crash course. It's going to be called the bear market crash course, or sorry, the real estate bear market course, because there are already deals popping up. I am meeting people that are finding sellers that are so stressed out. They are taking massive chunks down, and they are making money from them right now, doing wholesale deals. And so there are deals to be made out there right now. People are becoming more and more stressed with mortgage rates over 8%. There's a lot happening. So this is a great sign, what we're about to go over, this survey from the Dallas Fed, because this isn't about a pivot. You see, the Federal Reserve just can't go lower rates tomorrow. They can't. Their hands are tied. China, Russia, India are winning. Japan is selling. China is selling treasuries. They are selling dollars. They are causing our rates to go higher. They are squeezing us. This is going to be an epic 2024 as far as the downturn of the American economy. And if you are not prepared for this, then you are going to be sitting on the sidelines watching those that were prepared, that are preparing, take advantage of asset prices that are falling. All right. So let's talk about this story out of Zero Hedge. Oh, by the way, I'll put a handful of discount links to the real estate crash course for $199. If they're not $199, when you click the link, that means that they're not 80% off, okay? So this story is out of Zero Hedge. It's entitled, and this is a quote, "Hearing a lot more, I cannot afford this. Sinking Dallas Fed survey signals the economy is slowing." Now, just because the economy is slowing doesn't mean the Federal Reserve can or will lower rates. They never, ever lower rates prior to the economy going into recession and crashing. And when you look at the GDP numbers, the blowout numbers that just happened, realize this. Our government issued a ton of bonds, a ton of debt that they're actually starting to find it harder and harder to issue debt at these lower interest rates. And yes, I said lower because they're going to go much higher, in order to go and buy weapons and send money to other countries. It's a proxy war. We are seeing people starting to panic buy items because they have finally figured out that inflation is not going away just yet, and that it's actually going to get worse. When they see news headlines from Saudi Arabia saying, we're going to make sure in Russia, we're going to raise your oil prices. The consumer is starting to finally figure it out. And that is what I've been warning people about, that you are going to see panic buying in food in 2024. It's already starting. There is less food than there's demand. Now, the super expensive higher cuts of beef and expensive foods, those are not selling like they normally would, right? Because they've gone up as well into nosebleed levels. But by and large, the less expensive the food, the harder it is to get. Those margins are pushing up higher on a percentage basis because everyone can afford that, right? Or really, it's not the best way of putting it, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. It says perceptions of broader business conditions continue to worsen in October, according to the Dallas Fed manufacturing survey. The general business activity and company outlook indexes remained largely unchanged. Now, let me share with you a chart that I think is very important. All right, this chart dates back to 2005, right? It's the manufacturing survey. When it goes from green, this is the Great Recession. See, it's deep and long. Take this completely out of the equation, okay? That is an anomaly. That was the shutdown of the world, okay? It was steep, strong, long, take that out. What I want you to look at right now is the pain in the manufacturing survey right now, right? This is the outlook. Look at how long a negative outlook has been going on right now in our country. as compared to the entire Great Recession. All right. This is very, very important for you to look at. That means the consumers have had this long to start to become Debbie Downers, depressed. This is not good, right? The economy has been slowly dying. All right. Now, there's a day where everything's going to take off. I want you to understand, nothing is forever. That's obvious, right? You have boom times, then you have Great Recession, boom, down, boom, down, boom, down, down, boom. That was not even, boom. It's going to happen. It's going to come back. The whole world's not ending tomorrow. But if you are not ready for this next downturn, I want to tell you this. This is my call right here. See how this is just as wide as this, and it was steeper. We have not even entered. The point of panic, which means you're going to see this survey way down here, the same level and even longer. I hope people understand that. It says the general business activity and company outlook indexes remained largely unchanged at negative 19.2 and 17.1 respectively. This is the 18th straight month of negative readings for the headline sentiment signal. The outlook uncertainty index remained elevated, but retreated from 27 to 20.2. But under the hood, the individual factors were almost all lower on the month. New orders for manufacturing, new orders are dumping again, and the average work week is declining. If the company does not need the employee for a full 40 hours a week, that shows you that they are producing less. And what happens is you are seeing the future. When you see these numbers and the outlook, you see 3 months into the future, because you're going to see what their earnings are like. You're going to see that their earnings are down. Less employees working means less goods that they're selling, right? It says the one teeny tiny bright spot where prices paid and received dropped on the month. And the only reason that's a teeny tiny thing, and this is why, and I want to explain this, because everyone's looking for inflation to come down. But you have to understand, remember, I've said this before, and I used to get a lot of hate from it. Inflation doesn't turn into deflation overnight. There's actually spikes of deflation. And this is a great example of a deflationary spike. When a company has cost it here, and then it charges this much, the right in between, right where my eyes are, that's margin, right? That's your profit margin. If you charge this much because the materials cost X, the employees cost Y, you add it all together, you get your price, right? Your profit, your margin. All right. When you start to see prices paid and received dropped on the month, that has to do with the lack of purchases. So a company goes, all right, we have this much. Let's go ahead and drop the price a little bit. We're still making money, but we're not making as much. Our margins are getting tighter, but we've got to be competitive. We got to beat our competitor. And then the buyer goes, hey, I'm going to go with this company because they're cheaper, because we're dying here. If we don't get our costs lowered, we can't offer this to someone else at a competitive price and be able to make a profit. That's an example of a deflationary spike inside of a market that is continually rising. But here's the problem. And this is what I talk about when I'm referring to all of these strikes that are going on around the country. The employees have no concept of what they're doing. They're actually going to cause their company to go bankrupt. And you're going to go from making an extra $5 an hour, $10 an hour, to being out of a job. All right. This is how this works. As these companies' margins shrink, they get to the point where, like, we've got to close our doors. And the employee's mindset goes, well, why would you just close your doors? Aren't you going to try harder? Like, try and sell more stuff. And they're like, we can't sell more stuff. It doesn't work that way. Like, well, just try harder. Like, look, we're just going to close our doors. And the employee's going, well, but if we're out of a job, if you close, you're out of a job too. You don't understand the mindset of a C-suite exec. It's totally different than an employee. I want people to understand this. They brush themselves off and like, hey, our policy and procedures manual says our corporate bylaws, we're going to get paid. We're getting our bonuses. And that's what people just don't get. They just don't get it. It's like some of these, I'm going to be real cryptic here. There are some people out there with some real estate investment trusts that are imploding right now. And it's not really their fault. They just didn't see, they didn't watch the ninja and say, oh yeah, interest rates are going to skyrocket and you're going to be out because all of your maturing your portfolio of loans, your debt that you've over leveraged yourself on is going to have to come due. You're going to have to actually refinance at much higher prices. And they're imploding right now, right? Well, they wrote into these policies, and you see them driving their fancy, flying their fancy jets. They don't own those jets. The company does, right? And in their bylaws or their corporate docs, they actually state that they get their money first before all the other creditors are paid. And people just don't get that. But that's the different mindset of a business owner and an employee. And this is happening right now. And so I'm showing you the future. The manufacturing survey is a great survey to go by to tell you the future, 3 months, 6 months in the future. All right. So check this out. Respondents to this survey were almost perfectly uniformly downbeat. And remember, I told you this a collapse in an economy is a mindset shift that goes from positive to negative. So you're like positive to negative. That's what it is. Super simple. When the sheep finally wake up and they go, wait a minute, this cliff, those rocks look sharp, and they're all falling off. They're just following each other until a majority of them have fallen off, right? Here's some of these respondents' notes, and here's the one that I use for the title. 6 months from now is actually quite scary. The economy is uncertain, and customers cannot predict with any certainty what they see. Political pressures and the wars are now forcing customers to reevaluate their business activities and reduce their outlook. It's very uncertain. Again, this is coming from someone that is in manufacturing, that is referring to a salesperson, that is referring to his or her customers, how they are feeling. They're uncertain. They don't know which way to go. Do I believe CNN? Do I believe Fox? Do I believe CNBC? Hey, there's always Jim Cramer. They have no clue. All right. Remember, most people in the business world aren't investors. They don't think like you and I. They do not think ahead. They are robots. They make a good pay. They have enough to leverage their money and buy $100,000 SUVs, and they don't think ahead. They usually don't they don't make their money make them money. They put their money on with like Charles Schwab or some brokerage and just go, hey, can you just make me like 10%? I just want to make more than inflation. They're like, heck yeah, we're going to charge a crap out of you in fees. They don't know money. Very few people do. That's why there's only like, 1% of the nation that makes over, 600,000 a year or millionaires, right? There's not many. So you got to ask yourself, who are you following? The sheep or the lions? All right, here we go. I'm going to read through these respondents, the survey people's comments. In a consumer business, we are hearing a lot more, I can't afford this, than we have ever heard before. So the salesman calls up, hey, would like to sell you something. Like, dude, I can't afford this. I can't afford it. It's happening like crazy. Business has slowed down significantly. We see no signs of improvement in business activity. When you start hearing that, we see no signs in improvement in business activity, that's the depression moving in. That's the psychological shift. And this is why I said it all starts in October. It is, if you don't see what changed from September to October, worldwide landscape and now the economic landscape, I don't know what to tell you. It was like a light switch went on. And then you give it 3 months, one full quarter, and you get that next quarter's data in January, you watch what happens in January. It will be like the world's coming apart economically, and everyone's going to be talking about it. It says here, oh, how we long for the days of a stable market. We just lost another longtime customer to China, where the pricing for the finished product was what we pay for the raw material. With the inflation we have been imposing, with the inflation we have being imposed on us here in the US, we won't ever see those customers come back. Now think about that phrase. Again, depression. They're never coming back. We've lost them forever. This is how the working class thinks. They don't understand cycles. So what happens is that depression sets into their head. Well, this is how it is. Inflation's never going to end. It's not our fault. We could never prepared for this. We just lost a customer to China. They're gone forever. The depression sets in, and then panic will ensue. First quarter of 2024. Timestamp this. I keep talking to my editor. We got to go back to old videos. There's so many videos where I said, this is going to happen on this date. This is going to happen. I've done a couple of them. I don't even want to deal with digging through them. I never even timestamp them. But my point being is you're going to see that depression turn into panic, buying of food, buying of gold, buying of whatever in the first quarter of 2024. Check this out. And that's not financial advice. I'm not telling you that panic doesn't always mean the price goes up too. That's something else people need to understand. See, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. With the unrest in the Middle East, there is now additional global uncertainty and about how it will impact the U.S. and overall global economy. There is limited optimism. We will see a very slow recovery in the first quarter, depending on the global impacts of additional conflict. So now they're using war as another example of uncertain times. Here's another one. We are off by 20% this year so far. I don't expect it to get better. Prices of goods are going up. Shipping is going up. Let me ask you this. Type 1 if you're in the trucking industry and you have never made less money. The truth is, freight is down. The cost per mile is down, but fuel is up, right? There is diminished business activity right now. It's very evident. I remember a freight broker losing his mind. Literally, the guy lost his mind. Like getting angry because I talked about gold back when it was $1,800. It's now what? It's over 2,000 right now. And saying, you know, I'm a doom and gloomer and I'm talking about crashes. And he's a freight broker and now he has less work. He's making less money. Boom, lost his mind. But that's what happens to people that have no concept of economic cycles or economic history, financial history. I mean, that's it. Now, check this out. Oh, here we go. Activity is definitely slowing down. We remain optimistic at this point for a turnaround, but cautiously. So those are people that really haven't woke up. Well, that's cool. Straightforward. The economy is slowing. These are respondents responding to a Dallas Fed survey of manufacturing. Okay, so this is important. You're seeing the future. These are the salesmen and women on the front lines that are trying to sell goods and services across America. All right, so all of these answers are going to show up in next quarter's filings, their earnings report. All right, here's one. Our industry continues to be severely damaged by foreign countries dumping product into the U.S. and our territories. That, coupled with overall business being down, has caused a loss of jobs and capital dollars going back into our industry. There's the second respondent that's blamed overseas countries dumping cheaper goods into our country. And you have to realize, remember, one of the costs of goods in America is wages. Well, all of our companies are losing that battle as strikes. Unions are striking. And what's going to happen is we're going to lose so much manufacturing base in our country because companies are going to go under the weight of the additional wages. And the whole time the employees are going, yeah, but the CEOs make so much more than us. I'm like, dude, I don't know how to tell you. You need to elevate yourself to CEO status and you just got to get there. Stop being a slave. We got a bunch of slaves whining and going, hey, we need more money. You're like, yeah, you don't even know how this works. I don't. Do I think that a CEO or a suite executive that loses money for a company should get paid that much? Absolutely not. It should be performance-based, 100%. I think, honestly, you should start a CEO at the wage of the highest employee in the company, but then you say, based off of profits, you'll get X amount of percentage of profits. And if there's losses, we take money. That would be great. I would apply for that job. I'd go crush it. But that's not how the world works. And so you could either scream and yell and fight and strike, or either way, it's going to end up losing your job, or you start your own business. That's what I'm calling for people. We need men and women in America to start companies, start businesses. We need to diversify now, because these other companies are going to China and they're like, hey, we're dying, so we need your cheaper goods, or we're screwed. This is why in the late 80s, all through the 90s, it was buy American, buy American, buy American, because we were getting hammered by Taiwan back in like the late 70s, early 80s. Type 2, if you remember that. You remember everything saying Taiwan on the back? And then we went through a couple iterations with other countries, but it was all stamped, right? And we were getting hammered, and then it was buy American, buy American. And then ultimately, that American has gotten so expensive because of cost of living, adjustments, wages, all that stuff. That's what's happening right now. That's why you're about to see so many more. I mean, as the UAW wins this next strike, it is going to embolden and empower so many more unions across the country to strike. You will see so many companies held hostage around the time of Christmas, because they know that's the time to just crush these companies, right? Then you can shake a stick at. And check this out. More of these. Reduction in government grants, cash flow issues with customers, and the uncertainty created by the lack of border controls are issues affecting our business. Right there, they are on life support. The reduction in government grants and cash flow issues. All right, so you as a company are mismanaging funds. If your company is on a lifeline, it's being held up by CPR, which is government stimulus money, you shouldn't be in business. If you're an employee working for a company and you say that, and you don't quit and find another job, you deserve what's coming to you. I feel bad for your wife and children because you are an idiot. Now, I'm not joking. That's what we got to start thinking. Call a spade a spade. If you're working for a company, it's going, oh, we don't have any more government stimulus, so we can't compete. You're like, why are you working there? Right? But that's where the consumer is. Hey, by the way, this is my brother's channel. I'm the one screwing it up, but hit subscribe. It helps him out. The lack of petroleum-based energy policy is troublesome. Okay, I'm not even going to get into that one. We're not going green right now. We are seeing a pronounced slowdown in owners going forward with new projects. There is too much uncertainty in the economy and globally. And I'll tell you right now, construction is the headline right there. Owners of construction companies are pull back, lay people off, or just cut them back so we don't have to pay unemployment insurance or unemployment benefits. That's a big deal right now. They are type 3 if you're in construction, and you know what I'm talking about. Here's another one. We are working our way to find a cyclical bottom. We're just hoping for a bottom. Please just give us a bottom. That bottom is not now. It comes in 2024 and 2025, and it's going to come in the form of straight up chaos. They say the overall economy is still the wild card, and it's not helping. If things stay stable in our economy, overall customer inventories should have stopped draining, and our growth should resume sometime by mid next year. So that's someone that's optimistic. So we've had two people that are optimistic. Hey, things are bad, but we're hoping that they get better. And then check this out. Lastly, overall customer projections are said to be up for 2024, but our forecasts don't match and are down. This is straightforward chaos. You're going to see manufacturers come out with abysmal earnings in the last quarter of this year. They will show up in mid-January, and you will see a downturn like you've never seen before. It's going to be exciting. I hope you're getting ready for it. I put a few of those 80% off links, the real estate crash course, how you could take actionable steps right now to prepare for this crash. And the next level of course is coming out, and there'll be a special offer to everyone that already owns that one course. Level 2 training to identify the properties that are right now, the deals that you can get, and the very special timing in which you're going to want to be buying rentals. And the scary thing is, it's only going to last about 1.5 years for the prime bottom. And there's a ratio that very few people have paid attention to, but I was part of that ratio in the year 2001 and 2002. And then After that, it was all uphill. I know it sounds crazy because a lot of people talk about making money, but there's making money and then making money. Hope you guys got something out of this. If the link is not $199 and the sale's over, those links are done. That will not, it's $199, which equals 80% off. Hope you guys have a great day. The Economic Ninja, this is not my channel. It's the Real Estate Ninja. Subscribe for my brother. Makes him feel better. Is out.